Jai Ananta Puri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the Son of the devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We offer our most respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Vasudeva, who is known as Vasudeva. And in the concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada describes that Krishna is always seated within the heart. But he's saying there that Krishna is not sitting there alone. He's saying Krishna is sitting there along with all his various expansions, along with all the acharyas as well. So, in this way, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is sitting in our heart. And we should make a connection with him. It's not that, oh, he's a picture on the altar. It is not that he is an acharya in our line, a great historical personality, and that we should know something about that historical personality. No, we should make a relationship with him by exploring what he has offered to us. Now we can look at Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur from different angles. We can look at him as to how his life unfolded and how he became a magistrate in the government, and how in that public life he was Krishna conscious. Somehow or other he was in charge in holy places, because it was known that he was a great devotee. So therefore the British assigned him to these religious areas. And he was in charge of Jagannath Puri, he was in charge of the Jagannath Temple. Because at that time the Jagannath Temple was under the government of India, it still is. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, on behalf of the government, took charge of the temple, and he made many arrangements there to raise the standards and ousted some personalities who were misbehaving, not following regulative principles. So we can look how in Vrindavan, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur got rid of dacoits, how he went in there and drove out a whole gang of dacoits that would attack pilgrims. So we see that even in his professional life, he was serving the Vaishnavas. We can also see that he used his time to be stationed in Krishnanagar and to explore where the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, which eventually he discovered. We can look at Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a writer. We can look at Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a writer for writing over 100 literatures. So, I mean, that is a serious literary contribution, even from an early age. We can look at his autobiography, Svalikita Jivani, how he is describing his own life, his early life, and how he became a devotee. We can look at him as being caught in a great calamity, that his maternal family lived in a village which basically became wiped out by cholera. And practically the whole village died, but somehow or other his mother survived, although she was staying there at the time. And so then he took his mother, and he was studying, and he was married, and he had a mother to take care for, and he somehow or other did a law degree, which is hard work, it's not a picnic degree, like political sciences or something fake like that. It's serious work. So he excelled in so many fields. We see Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a songwriter, and then just producing a huge number of songs that are all very, very deep. We're looking at Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a resident of Bengal, a representative of the culture of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which we are looking at from the outside, and he was an insider. For example, in his book Jaiva Dharma, you find a very interesting description, because Jaiva Dharma is a book. It begins with one personality named Vrajanath, who is expert in Navanyaya. And Navanyaya is, we may remember that Nyaya is a system of logic, and in that system of logic, for example, debates can come about. Is the pot holding the air, or is the air holding the pot? And you can have big discussions about it. Or kakatavanyaya, is the fruit fell from the tree, and just as it fell, a crow landed on the branch. Now, did the fruit fall, and did the crow just land? Did the crow land and cause the fruit to fall? And stuff like this. Endless, like going over a situation, looking at all the possibilities, and just logically trying to figure out what is the truth. Nyaya. Now, there was a traditional system of Nyaya, but somehow or other, Buddhists, as they came up, they were hard to defeat through this system of Nyaya. They also were good at logic. So then, but in Mithila, they had a new system of Nyaya, an improved system of Nyaya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the one who brought that from Mithila to Navadvip. And then the result was that Navadvip became the number one school of Nyaya. And so there were many brahmanas involved in this. So it begins with a brahmana who's involved with this Nyaya. And we get a bit of an insight in the Brahminical community, and how he is daily spending his time in Navadvip. Because the Navadvip of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a place where learning was in the center of society. We are now living in a society where business is in the center. It's like it's about money. It's about making money, and that's what turns on the world. But in that Navadvip, everywhere, learning was the criterion. For example, now, a mother might wish that her daughter would marry a rich man. Right? In those days, a mother desired that her daughter would marry a great scholar. Now, a mother wouldn't desire such a thing, This great scholar, what's the use of that, But that was the mood of Navadvip. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Jaiva Dharma, tells us a story. It's a novel. And there is a personality who is very learned in this Nyaya and from an aristocratic Brahmin family. And somehow or other, in the course of studying this Nyaya and looking at ancient scriptures, he comes across that in the past there had been a great champion of Nyaya, who was known as Nimai Pandit. So he started to read more about Nimai Pandit. But then he read that Nimai Pandit just gave it up one day. He just gave it up and Nimai became a Vaishnava. Now that was shocking. That was absolutely shocking. Really, the Vaishnavas were not considered to be very high class, actually. The Vaishnavas were sentimentalists at best, and oftentimes low caste people, and therefore not having high standards of Dharma. And these Vaishnavas, they were residing especially across the river from Navadvip, where Vrajanath lived, in a place called Mayapur. Right? Anyway, so because Vrajanath was reading about this Nimai Pandit, and he heard that he had become a Vaishnava, he thought that he might get some clues about Nimai Pandit. Oh yes. Our Vrajanath was by far the greatest scholar in Nyaya. Now, at the time, there was another great scholar in Nyaya named Raghunath Upadhyaya. But Raghunath Upadhyaya informed Upadhyaya Chiromani, excuse me, I left out something from his title. So Raghunath Upadhyaya Chiromani means jewel on the head, Chiromani, oh yes. This Raghunath, it was eating him. It was eating his heart that this Vrajanath was the greatest obstacle in his life. Meanwhile, because Vrajanath had found out things about Nimai Pandit, he thought that these Vaishnavas across the river might know more, he decided to go there. Now, the Navadvip area is ultimately a village area, and in a village nothing remains hidden. So soon enough, Vrajanath's mother heard about it, and she got worried. Oh my God, he's getting involved with these low-class people, and showing these things, and so she was discussing it with a family member. This family member named Vanamali Acharya, right? And she discussed it with some of the female members and said, it really is time that Vrajanath gets married. It is high time he gets married because that will settle him down. He's getting restless these days, and if we just settle him down in marriage, then he will, then everything will be fine. So that's the order of the day. But, he's showing more and more interested in these Vaishnavas. Vrajanath had gone to the Vaishnavas and had an extraordinary experience. There was a great Vaishnava Acharya, and Vrajanath was in a discussion with him, and Vrajanath was sort of inquiring about Nyaya, and the Vaishnava Acharya had simply pointed out the uselessness of such logic wrangling, because that through it one could never uncover the absolute truth, as we find confirmed in Brahma Samhita. So, therefore, and then he told him something about bhakti, and Vrajanath was a little interested. He said, wow, that was an amazing discussion. And Vrajanath started to regularly go. So by the time that Vanamali Acharya became involved, Vrajanath was regularly going to these Vaishnavas. And his mother was getting very worried. Vanamali Acharya said, oh, no problem, I will fix this. So one day he followed Vrajanath to Mayapur. And when he saw that he went to the Babas, he waited. And then when he left, then he went to the Babas. He came to the Babas and he explained to them, Oh, I've come here to warn you. Because this Vrajanath, I saw he was here. Vrajanath is a very conniving personality. Vrajanath is a politician who just tries to exploit innocent people. Oh, and you should know what Vrajanath is telling us in Navadvip about you. You should know how he is simply blaspheming you. And then he left. He went back to Navadvip, and Vrajanath came home, and then he said, Oh Vrajanath, I happened to be in Mayapur today for some business, and then I came across these Babas there. And they seem to know you. Oh, but I'm telling you, Vrajanath, the things they were saying. And they were saying, this Brahmana, just see, we will spoil his caste. And they have a whole agenda, to like make you fall from your brahminical status. I tell you, Vrajanath, beware. In this way, Vanamali did his business. And the intrigue just goes on and on and on. Meanwhile, Vrajanath is daily going and now getting into deep discussions on Vaishnava philosophy and asking questions. One day, Raghupati Upajjhaya Chiromani, he couldn't handle it any longer. And it was a dark moon night. Those nights are good for certain things. And Raghupati went to the bank of the river to the burning ghat, where they burned the corpses. And he sat down there. And he was taking some of the earth mixed with ashes from the dead bodies and throwing it in the fire, while chanting mantras to the goddess. And mantra after mantra, in the dark moon night he was chanting, mantra after mantra. Then suddenly a gust of ice cold wind blew over the plains, a gust of ice-cold wind, and then there was thunder and some lightning, and then a female voice said, "Oh, Raghupati Upajjhaya Chiromani." Soon your competitor will be no more. Excuse me. So it's getting exciting, isn't it? This Jaiva Dharma. It's sort of an exciting book, you know. I mean, you may want to read it even. Whew. What's going to happen next? Well, that comes next visit, you know, when I come back to Cape Town. All right. Anyway, Raghunath. Then as Vrajanath was visiting the Babajis on a regular, practically a daily basis, he more and more became influenced by them. And there were regular visitors also coming there, meeting the Babajis, and discussions came. Once a group of Muslims came and they wanted a whole discussion about worshipping the deity, because that's the big problem. Right? How can you worship a form of the Lord? This is just idol worship, and such idol worship cannot be tolerated in their understand. They are known as iconoclasts, the guys that break deities. But there was a whole discussion, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur very expertly explains how the deity form is actually a bona fide form of the Lord, and not just the same as a statue. So whatever may be, so in Jaiva Dharma there is a widespread of the Vaishnava philosophy, and it goes from the earlier stages to the advanced stages, about Raganuga Bhakti and Bhava and Prem and all these things, and explained in great detail. So this book is a great exhibition of Vaishnava theology. It is very complete. But at the same time, it shows something about the culture at the time. It describes that they went to Panihati. Panihati is not far from Calcutta. It is between Mayapur and Calcutta. And Panihati is on the bank of the Ganges. Panihati is a lovely place. There the Ganges is flowing straight. And there on the banks there are big trees. And in particular there is one very big banyan tree, which is there since the time of Lord Nityananda. It was Lord Nityananda who sat under that tree. And it was then that Raghunath Das came to meet Lord Nityananda, and it was there that Raghunath Das was accused by Lord Nityananda of being a thief, of stealing away the opportunity to embrace him when Raghunath offered obeisances at a distance. It was then that Raghunath Das was punished by making a chip rice festival, and so many people came that there was no more space on the bank of the rivers, and some people had to sit in the water. But it was okay. They were holding 2 pots with chipped rice and yogurt, chipped rice and milk and many sweets and things, and very tasty. And that festival is even there now. But in Jaiva Dharma it is described that now it was 100 years after that took place. And there was one person who was still alive who had seen Nityananda at that time. So they're meeting, all hearing from this person. So it's quite interesting, and it is setting. It tells us a lot about Bengal and about the conniving and the politics. At one point, there is in some other town in Bengal a family. And this family is like some elderly parents with a number of sons and daughter-in-laws. And the elderly parents, they have done some business in their life, they have some savings, and they've kept the savings. Unfortunately, their children are not really looking after them very well. Unfortunately. So the parents feel very sad, and on one occasion the parents then say to the children, said, "My dear children, we are disappointed. We are disappointed in the way you are caring for us. But we want to tell you one thing. We have some savings, and we will give these savings to the one of you who will really take care of us nicely." So, money talks. And then, the sons and their wives had a meeting and say, "This is outrageous. This is outrageous. They're sitting on all this money and hiding it from us. This is just too much, Then the eldest one said, "You know what? I have a brilliant idea. I tell you, they must have hidden the money somewhere in the house. Most likely in their bedroom. Where else? Where else would it be? Would be in their personal room, obviously. You know what we do? We just show a change of heart and then tell them that we really think they deserve a pilgrimage to Navadvip, to a holy place, and that we'll send a nice Vaishnavi widow with them, so that they at their old age can go there and are fully taken care of while we take care of the family affairs. And then when we're gone, then we'll search." So it happened. The parents were so happy that children had understood finally that they'd been neglected, and they said, so sorry, we just got so busy with things, and we didn't mean it to neglect you, and we love you, you are our parents, and therefore we would love you to go in your old age and make this pilgrimage, because it's very important that in old age you go to holy places. And we sent this nice Vaishnavi with you, and she is very familiar with the place, and she will fully take care of you. In this way, they coaxed the parents to go. And they dug up the whole room, and they searched, and sure enough, they found the cash. And they shared the cash amongst themselves, and it was a good wad, and they were quite happy about it. When the news reached the parents, they were so upset, they wanted to go home, but people warned them, "Don't go, they might kill you." So this paints a little bit about what was going on in Bengal of the time. You see, so Jaiva Dharma does three things, right? It gives us the historical setting of Bengal, of the culture of Bengal. It gives us a deep insight of the culture of Bengal. It gives us the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it gives us an interesting plot. It gives us a story and a half. And what happened to Vrajanath and this dark moon night? Soon, your opponent will be no more. What happened? What happened? It's simple. Vrajanath joined the Vaishnavas and took initiation and lost all interest in Nyaya. And as a result, Raghupati Bajaya Chirumani. Chirumani became the leading acharya in Nyaya. He thanked the goddess. The puja had been successful. Meanwhile, Vrajana had lost all interest in these things and was day by day becoming more deeply absorbed in devotional service. He had no interest in marriage, and he was fully becoming dedicated to serving the Supreme Lord. And then his uncle also got involved, and it became a whole thing. And as it unfolds towards the end, that you have to read. I can't tell the whole book. I think I gave you a taste of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings. Back to his life in Navadvip. There we find the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, known as Swananda Sugata Kunj. Those who are well read in Vaishnava literature are aware that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Govinda Lilamrita has described the kunjas around Radha Kunj, and that this Swananda Sugata Kunj is actually one of the groves around Radha Kunj. So in this way, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur created his bhajan and his bhajan kutir and gave it that name. Then in that bhajan kutir, we can go there nowadays. It's not far from the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Mandir. Oh yes, just go around the back, past the Goshala, and just, a little further, and yes, you will come to the Ghat, and you just cross the river by boat, and a few hundred meters. Watch out for the buses, because they drive like mad. And anyway, but have an ecstatic kirtan on the way. Maybe chant Yasomati Nandana Brajabarana Guru Gokularanjana Kana, to get in the mood, to get absorbed in how Bhaktivinoda Thakur was absorbed, how he was simply absorbed in Krishna. Oh, Yasomati Nandana, the son of Yasomati, Brajabaranagara. He is the beloved of all the residents of Vrindavan, the greatest personality in Vrindavan. Gokula Ranjana, everyone in Gokul is enjoying the association of Kana, of Krishna. Gopi Paramadana. Oh yes, he is the greatest wealth of the gopis. Yes, Madana Manohara. He just steals the mind and drives one mad. Madana Manohara. Oh yes, Bamsivadana. He is playing his flute. Bamsivadana, Suvasa. That is what he does. He plays his flute, and like flute playing is Suvasa, is like it's just residing within him. No one can play flute in such a way. So, oh Yasomati Nandan. So let us go there to this house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Oh, and what is it? This Gorakadana worship. Now, how about that? Maybe we are curious. According to the Panchatattva and the Gauraganadesh Deepika of Kavi Karnapur, we find an explanation of the Panchatattva, and we find who is who in Krishna Lila. And we remember that verse is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, originally quoted in Kavi Karnapur's writing about some 40 years earlier. And then Kavi Karnapur ascribes the verse to the diary of Swarup Damodar Goswami, which is now lost. And what does it say there? Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhakta Avatam Bhakta Kyam Namani Bhakta Shaktikam. It is explaining the 5 tattvas, and it is saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, but now come as a devotee, Bhakta Rupa. And Lord Nityananda is Bhakta Sarupakam. He is the self-same form of the Lord. He's his own form. Advaita Acharya is Bhakta Avatar, the incarnation of the Lord. And Gadadhar is Bhakti Shakti. And then Srivas is Jiva Tattva. So in this way we're looking at the Pancha Tattva. Now let's look at Gaura Gadadhar, Shakti Tattva. Oh, which Shakti Tattva is that? Ladini Shakti Rasmad, Ladini Shakti. Oh, he's the Ladini Shakti, yes, because Gadadhar is an expansion of Radharani. Wow. Now that gets ethereal and internal and deep and interesting. Oh, how about that? Yes. And what is happening then? Is Gadadhar Radharani? But I thought Lord Chaitanya was Radharani. He was in the mood of Radharani. How does that work? Yes, that is there. Well, are they fighting sometimes then? I'm Radharani. No, I'm Radharani. No, in that way. No. How does it work? Well, it is said, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Bhakti Raksak Sridhar Maharaj, writes about this matter, and it is interesting. Sridhar Maharaj was a senior sannyasi, senior to Prabhupada in a sense, and although we're not making a big issue about mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the senior most of all, the issue is though that Sridhar Maharaj did have a lot of personal association with Prabhupada. With Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, that's what I want to say. So he knew certain things, so he explains how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would explain this topic. And that is interesting. And that basically said that what happened is that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the mood of Srimati Radharani, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took everything. He took everything. He took the rebellious mood of Srimati Radharani. He took the all that was left for Radharani, who comes in the form of Gadadhar, is to just be the humble servant. That's why I said Gadadhar is more in the mood of Rukmini, accepting everything and just being like an obscure personality. That is why Gadadhar appears just before the Amavasya, before the dark moon, an obscured personality. Not everything is manifest, something is hidden. So now, sometimes people ask, then is there, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is both Radha and Krishna. So when sometimes in his Krishna mood, sometimes in his Radharani mood. When he's in the Krishna mood, is at that time, is there something happening with Gadadhar, who is Radharani, and is there a whole subtle thing going on there, on an internal level? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said no. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing a bhajan, and in this bhajan he's saying that when this Gaura Gadadhar exchange as Radha and Krishna becomes active, then they transform into Radha Madhava. So he said, they transform into Radha Madhava. Because within the Panchatattva, such dynamics are not active. They're dormant. They're not active. So that is the understanding. It's important because Gaura Gadadhar is a little bit bewildering otherwise. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was worshipping that deity. Now, the house of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is interesting. It was an interesting meeting place. When we go in there, we find upstairs, we find 2 rooms, and we find one room dedicated. This was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's room. We see a big fan there that used to run on kerosene, and would cool him down. Next door is a room of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who was his son, right? And then it is said that also Gaurkishore Das Babaji was also alive at that time and would regularly visit there. And even there have been meetings with all 4 acharyas, Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaurkishore Das Babaji, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. 4 generations of pictures on our altar, all together on one house, in one house, on the balcony, looking at the birth site of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is an intriguing place, this house of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And there we can remember and meditate on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we may come up with different things to remember, but I went there so many years and taking all the devotees on parikrama, and many times Sureshwar Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's senior disciple, he would come and he would always want to do one thing and discuss the Saragrahi Vaishnava. The Saragrahi Vaishnava. So what is this Saragrahi Vaishnava? The Saragrahi Vaishnava is the one of whom all can take shelter, and he is particularly known as Haridas Thakur. And yes, that is in Jagannath Puri. And yes, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jagannath Puri was involved in developing the temple for Haridas Thakur's Samadhi. And he wrote about an incredible glorification of Haridas Thakur in this poem, Saragrahi Vaishnava. I have not memorized the whole thing because I'm not good at memorizing poems. In memorizing stories I can sort of do, but memorizing poetry, it goes, I can't remember anything these days. So I'm sorry I can't reproduce that for you without an electronic device which is charging in my room, so we leave it for what it is. But you can look yourself and Google it today and look at Sara, you can remember Sara, right? Grahi, Sara Grahi Vaishnava. And read that poem. Jyoti is already Googling it right now. He's gonna give me a phone. Oh dear, I can see it coming. Anyway, Haridas Thakur, such a great personality. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur took great inspiration of Haridas Thakur, because he also writes a book about Haridas Thakur and about the holy name, named Harinam Chintamani, which is another very important book of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This Harinam Chintamani is another one of his main books, the 3 main books really, amongst his 100+ books. 3 books are really outstanding. That is Jaiva Dharma, that is Harinam Chintamani, and the 3rd one is Chaitanya Siksamrita. That's where Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj got his seminar about the demons, and and what they represent, because that's described there in Chaitanya Siksamrita and many other things. But back to Harinam Chintamani now. A whole discussion about the chanting of the holy name were based on a short exchange from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur somehow or other got a Chaitanya Charitamrita. It wasn't easy. At his time, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, believe it or not, was hard to find. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Chaitanya Charitamrita became so prominent that they even had the book enshrined in a temple. But then the Shakta worship, then the worship of Kali Ma, and so on, that took over. And there was and Vaishnavism became more and more degraded because also tantric things came in, and where it was said the male represents the Purusha, the Supreme Lord, and the female represents Prakriti. And in this way, ritualistic sexual activity. Also there was a practice, so this is called Sahajism. They are Vaishnavas and engaging in sexual activities, and then when there's actual sexual activities, these are called Vama, left-handed Sahajism. That's what it's technically referred to. So that's pretty much degraded, and that degraded the reputation of the Vaishnavas. There was a practice where before a marriage, the wife should be offered to the Guru and spend a night with the Guru so that she would be prasad. So things were getting pretty far out. Anyhow, what can we say? And Vaishnavas were eating fish, panifal, fruits from the water. Even now in Bengal, it is known as panifal. Panifal to Bhagavashi. Do you like the fruit from the water? Oh yes, too much. I love it. So these things were going on in this way. Gradually, degradation came in. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was picking up that culture. He found a manuscript of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he totally studied it. He studied so many books. He didn't just write, he was reading and studying, and he was like pinning it down. What was actually the Gaudiya Vaishnavism of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And he was establishing in his writing and establishing what was in and what was out and what was Sahajism, and he was standing up against it strongly and publishing. He was a publisher, and he made his son a publisher. If Bhaktisiddhanta these days would be around, he would have been a BBT man. He would have been completely a BBT man, an editor, a publisher, a producer of books. He was like completely a BBT man, that kind of person. He would be now in Mauritius in the BBT conference, which I'm unfortunately missing because they told me too late, and then I said, well, then I want to be able to go to Cape Town, and I can't do that, so I'm not going to. I can't go. Then he said, okay, go to Cape Town. Little did I know that I would freeze in Cape Town. I could have been warm Mauritius right now. Fool that I am. Anyway, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Harinam Chintamani, is taking a portion of the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Haridas discusses the chanting of the holy name and the nature of the name, and he begins to expand on it in many ways, and then he gives an intricate explanation of the 10 offenses also, before he explains the difference between namabhas, chanted dim reflection of the holy name, which is chanted when we are still offensive, but we try to avoid offensive. There's offensive chanting, where we consciously make offenses. There is nam-abhas, where we're trying to avoid offenses. Or where we accidentally, innocently chanting, like Gorbachev. You remember Gorbachev was the president, or whatever they called him, in the Soviet Union, who released the Hare Krishnas from the labor camps and psychiatric hospitals. And why is it so? Because his name was Gorbachev. So think about the current situation in South Africa. Ramaphosa. Rama. I mean, there is some effect there. Don't underestimate the power of Lord Ramachandra. So, chanting his name, Namabas. And when devotees are trying to avoid offenses, but it's so hard, to not blaspheme the Vaishnavas is not so easy. And a few others, 10 offenses to avoid, not easy. And therefore, Namabas, still the dim reflection of the holy name. And Haridas had said, just like the sun is rising, and in the morning, before the sun comes above the horizon, the light of the sun is already manifesting in the sky. But you don't see the disk yet. In the same way, Namabhas means the light of the holy name is already manifesting, but the actual holy name is not fully manifest, not fully present as yet. That is Sudanam, the pure chanting. And so, Harinam Chintamani is the handbook of chanting Hare Krishna. Well, we could maybe use one. Geez, that sounds pretty useful. Handbook for chanting Hare Krishna. Well, maybe I should read it. Maybe I should. Maybe I should study it. Maybe I should. Maybe it should become like a book that's really like sort of one of the core books in my spiritual life. Okay. What was that called again? Harinam Chintamani. Who wrote it? Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yeah. What was that other book again? Jaiva Dharma. The third one? Chaitanya Siksamrita. Interesting. Alright, so in this way, we can appreciate Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a pioneer who in the year of Prabhupada's birth sent a book to McGill University in Canada, who had the desire to start the international mission. Interesting, in 1896 when Prabhupada appeared. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, he was his son, and he appeared with the umbilical cord around his neck like a Brahmin thread. And he was just so brilliant. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur trained him. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave Harinam initiation to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, but sent him for the Gayatri to Gaurkasur. And at the time, Diksha was, according to Vedic standard, meant Gayatri. And Harinam was not really considered Diksha or initiation. Gradually, Diksha means the transferring Divya Gyan, transferring transcendental knowledge. Right? So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, he started to go through the scriptures. He was trained in philosophy, he was an editor, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta would go through various literatures, and he would just chop left and right. For example, we have various biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one of the later ones, is known as the Chaitanya Mangal from Lochandas Thakur. And basically, that was Bengali poetry, which was meant to be sung. Because there used to be many personalities that would just go around and do Lila Kirtan. We do Nam Kirtan, but they would do Lila Kirtan. And you even find it now also. Like I was researching Lila Kirtan, and then I found this Manipuri personality in Bangladesh who was chanting something like Naratome Takure Pritivite Ashile. Sorry for the always breaks. Anyway, describing, and it describes, if you understand the Bengali, it describes the whole story of Narottam Das Thakur. So, in the same way, Lochan Das Thakur described all the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in verse form. But there was some postulation. Some people had added things to the text. This is very common, not only in India, paperclip. Not only in India, but everywhere in historical literature we find that people with ill motives have taken a book and written a few things in there to turn it in their favor and to sort of support their own views and things, right? So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took the Chaitanya Mangal as it existed and just, did surgery on it, serious, amputations, karate, kicked it about, strangled it, stretched it, shrunk it, put it through the washing machine, and when it came out, it was a new Chaitanya Mangal. And that's the one that has been translated and that we have now in our movement. Oh yes, so they were doing this type of work. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, re-establishing what was bona fide, what was rubbish, because things had been really, really covered over. And then establishing the birthplace in Mayapur. That was revolutionary because the Brahmanas in Navadvip were saying the birthplace is here in Navadvip. And money makes the world go round, and it's good to have a birthplace. Oh yes. If you have a birthplace, then you get many tokens, and there's donation box. See that yellow box with the flowers on there? Put some money inside. You have to put generously. Yes, so that is a good thing. But so it's convenient to have a temple, it's convenient to have a birthplace, because when it's full of money, so much for the deity and so much for the pujari. In this way, life is getting good. Such things, of course, also exist. So, in short, these acharyas established what Siddhanta was, what Bhakti was. Then we see Jagannath Das Babaji and Gorgasur Das Babaji. They are just taking the completely transcendental platform. Like Srila Jagannath Das Babaji would do 72-hour Ekadasis. And what did he do? He would fast and he would chant. So there's 3-day Ekadasis, and he would basically chant for 3 days, 24 hours, 72 hours, non-stop. And he would fast, dry fast, during those things also, completely. And that every Ekadasi. So serious Ekadasis rather, kind of, so they showed, Jagannath Das Babaji and Gorgasur Das Babaji, who didn't want to fall asleep while chanting japa while he was chanting at night instead of sleeping. So what he did, he took some clay from the bank of the Ganga, put it in a cloth and tied it on his head, so that whenever he would doze off, that the weight of the clay would wake him up. So it was in this way. They were showing by example what pure devotional service is all about. So these acharyas are the founders of this movement in the modern world. Without Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where do we stand? On what ground do we stand? How do we connect? Bhaktivinoda Thakur has established a foundation. and elaborately, and dealt with, practically speaking, there is no issue. There is no issue that you could come up with that doesn't have a statement of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Anything in relation to our Vaishnava philosophy, he's covered it. His writing is extremely broad. Okay, it doesn't mean that it always makes things completely clear. Sometimes we also get confused because there's only one statement, and then how to explain this. Then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta comes, and he just nails down the Siddhanta completely, gives it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada translates it. Prabhupada translates it into a language that we can understand, into concepts that are just simple and straightforward. And in this way, these acharyas have created the Vaishnavism for the modern man. And thus, we depend especially on these acharyas. They are especially important to us. Amongst all our acharyas, especially, we have a relationship with them. So therefore, when we go to Mayapur, then we especially visit these places. The places dedicated to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the place dedicated to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and of course we are in Prabhupada's headquarters, where he's showing the world something extraordinary, fulfilling the prediction of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Like Prabhupada writes in one letter, the prediction is there. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about an Adbhuta Mandir, an amazing, wonderful temple that will be constructed. He speaks that residents from all over the world will come and chant Jai Satchidananda. And Prabhupada writes in a letter to Jaiva Dharma, the prediction is here, and now let us make it true. And Prabhupada just took that. So we can see how he took the mission of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and how he established in this way the glory of Sri Ramayapur. Bhaktivinoda established the birthplace, Bhaktisiddhanta established the parikrama and started to establish some of the holy places on the ground. Bhaktisiddhanta established the parikrama of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through South India by establishing lotus feet. In this way he established the Chaitanya Charitamrita on the ground. Bhaktisiddhanta. So these acharyas have physically established our movement. And Bhaktisiddhanta established that anyone from any caste, any background, any creed or whatsoever can become a Vaishnava. So in this way, greatly indebted to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur on his appearance day, knowing that his mercy is especially present today. We, residents of this modern age of Kali Yuga, are praying for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur for strength to somehow or other carry on and complete this life successfully in devotional service. I thank you for listening to all of this waterfall. Any questions, any comments? But he said I could do what I liked, so I did. I guess it's enough to digest. No.
Maharaj, if you look at Jaiva Dharma and how Bhaktivinoda Thakur used the fictitious stories to bring about the philosophy, and I'm wondering whether that technique of using fiction with philosophy is something that should be for more realized devotees, because fiction automatically opens up the mind.
You must be a little careful with that, obviously, when you're not so learned, when you're not so realized. Yes, it's true. But we can also write fiction. Once upon a time, in a town on the ocean called Durban, a group of devotees, a group of personalities in exotic cloth was jumping up and down on the beachfront. And then you carry on. Prompt. This was a writing prompt. ... Carry on. And you can do whatever you like. Then a big sea monster appeared from the ocean. And people ran in all directions. But the kirtan devotees fearlessly carried on. And the monster offered his obeisances. It was Kaliya. Anyway, I don't know if you can say it was Kaliya. There you go, maybe a bit over the boundaries. Because Kaliya is an associate of the Lord in the pastimes of the Lord. Yeah. So you can see the trap where you can just walk in. Because I had a sea monster now. It's kind of natural to turn into Kaliya. But that I cannot do. Because Kaliya, his role is sort of fixed in the pastimes of Krishna, and I cannot ascribe a role to him. But to the conditioned souls, yes, I can come up with all kinds of things. Anybody else? Okay. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Avibhav Mahamahotsav Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava.
Kadamba Kanana Swami.